Hey, I made a tutorial for you about RAWSTYLE kicks, and it's not perfect. Some plugins and samples are a little bit hot, I noticed it afterwards, but I think it's quite useful anyway. So if you like it, give me a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.
So this is the synth I use for setting up the kick. I do this nowadays. I do it with this plugin sometimes, and sometimes I do it with some other plugin. And I really like another plugin called Microtonic also. But this is a plugin many people have, so therefore I use it in this for the purpose of this tutorial. And we should have something like this. So now it sounds like this. Okay, and then we apply a filter. And we will use the distortion and EQ. So the distortion, we just put it up. Okay. And for the EQ part, we can put it like there. We can, and also you can just try to play around with these until you like something. And then we set the pitch AB here. Pitch AB. Oh, sorry. I have to fix this also. This. So now you can hear some kind of kick in this. And then we take the cutoff AB here. Oh, yes. Yes, okay. So you can hear it, this is more or less some kind of kick. And later on when you have the, because on this synth we'll also make some kind of effect chain with EQs and distortion. And when that's finished, you can go back to this plugin and tweak this. We set it here for now, okay? Okay, so now on this instrument, the silent one, we put an EQ, and I like to use the FabFilter Pro Q2, but you can use any. And then we do a peak like this, and without it, it sounds like this. And with it, it sounds like this. So, a little more basic. And then we put on the Trash 2 or any distortion. You can just try out yourself. I tried this and I pushed this a little bit and I liked it. And it sounds like this. Sounds real crazy. And then we put on another EQ, and we have a peak around this. Many RAWSTYLE kicks have a peak around this. And, well, it sounds like this. And and then I like to put on this plugin, the filter bank, and it will sound a little bit more. I use the cubic distortion, and it's like some kind of filter. You set it up like here, and you have to experiment with it on your own. So without it, it sounds like this. And with it, it sounds like this. So now it starts to sound a bit more like a kick, I think. So now we put on another EQ, and we make some dips, and we raise a bit here. So without it, it sounds like this. And with it, it sounds a little bit louder, so be prepared for that. So we are almost at the end at this kick chain effect, and at the end I like to do some limiting and some minor, some quite much distortion, and well, I just limit it a bit. So without it, it sounds like this, and with it, it sounds like this. So, as the last thing here, I put on an EQ, and I take away the sub and some of the bass, and I do a deep here, and a roll off here, and it sounds like this. And then I take this sound and I bounce it to a wave, so it becomes a wave file, and well, from there on I just use blah blah blah. So here we have the silent synth up here, and I now bounced it, and I see that it's a little bit hot, it's a bit clipping. I will do it anyway, and I just shortened it, and it's so I'm working with the beginning of the kick. It sounds like this. Okay, and then I put on a EQ like this for this sample here. We do a peak here around 500 as we did before, and I don't want to have any bass or sub here, or sub, and then we put it on. So for this sample, I can also experiment with maybe something like this, a pitch shifter. Okay, so we can just listen how it sounds. But I will not use it here, but it's a way of changing it a little bit. Then I make a copy of this instant and just put it down here. And I muted these channels, and you can hear how this sounds. So I'm after some kind of click in the beginning. And to process that, I do different things every time. So sometimes I don't really know what I'm doing, but this time I put on first this plugin, um, to limit it a little bit and make it a little bit louder. So that's the first plugin for that sound. And then I have a Pro Q. So I make that peak again that we have seen sometimes now. And after that I do a bit crusher. And then I have this EQ again. So I will process this and some other sounds further later. Then I just grab a sample from some sample pack with a 909. I shorten it a little bit and I push it a little bit forward for this kick. I experiment with this sometimes to get the punch that I want to have. And it sounds like this from the beginning. Then I put the EQ on it. And after that sound I put I distort it a little bit with Trash 2. Okay, and then I think I have one EQ more for this one, like this. Also again you can see the 500 peak here. So this will also be processed further together with some other sounds later. And then I just take a Vengeance snare and I add it to it. And it sounds like this. So I shorten it a little bit, you can see here. And I fade it out. And then I do some isotope. Oh, I forgot the name. Distortion. Isotope. So this is how it looks like. And then I have Pro Q again. And then, oh, I don't remember exactly what I did here, but this is okay, this one is some kind of envelope for the attack. Okay. And then I have a bit crusher. And then I have this one. Okay. I didn't trust the fade really here, so I put the volume shaper also here. Okay. So these three sounds I send to another bus. So I process them together, and so it sounds like this here. And I send them to another bus, and I just do a peak here again. Okay. And then well, this plugin, I think I use this plugin too much here and there, but okay. So I have this plugin also. Then I do a bit crusher, some distortion. And that's how I process that sound. And well, some kind of punch, which looks like this. Okay. And so together it sounds like this. Let me look at this also. So this is my punch. It's finished, more or less. Okay? And in the RAWSTYLE kick you have a reversed reverb from this part. Okay, so I will do that now. So here I just put some reverb on the punch part, and then I bounced it and I inversed it, so it sounds like this. Okay, and I also processed it a little bit. I have a okay, it was a bit. I wanted to have it a bit louder, and then yeah, that peak again, a bit crusher, and a volume shape also. Okay, and I didn't like it so much, so I did another one, which looks like this here, so you can hear it. Same processing. Together they sound like this. Okay, so we have the punch and we have the reversed reverb from the punch. Sounds like this. Okay. And then I did a copy from I think it's from this instance, from the first sample for the tail, and I just put an EQ on this. Low cutted it here, and it sounds like this. And then I did another copy of the same here, and it looks like this. So we have it here, and it's almost the same. I EQ it a little bit in another way, and also I don't have them exactly on the same, so yeah, well, it sounds good when you do this, when you put one a little before the other one for the tail, and it sounds like this. So together with everything here, it sounds like this. So we are missing something, and that is some sub bass, I think. So for the sub bass, I just took the same instance as I had up here, with a very little sub bass, and I put it here, cut it a little bit. So and it sounds like this, and I did an EQ on that. I raised it a little bit in volume, and then I did a volume shape. You can also see in the sample here I fade it in a little bit, okay? But you can also hear some high frequencies here, so we must take them out, and I do like this, okay? And also when I'm finishing the kick, I To make it really fat, I sometimes also compress the bass, I think. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Compress it a little bit. So together the kick sounds like this. And from here on you can I think this is a good base for a kick, and you can do more stuff. Maybe you want more punch, maybe you want less punch, maybe you want to do something with the tail or something. We can throw on an EQ here and see how it sounds for the whole part here. Maybe another EQ. I have a lot of different EQs I've experimented with in this project, so I just try them out. I think this was good. And also one thing, when I sit with the kick, I do it for quite normally a very long time, and sometimes it can be hard to hear if it's a good kick or if it's a bad kick. Sometimes I just make a kick and I listen to it and I think, wow, that is a super killer kick. And then I go to bed with a smile on my lips, and then I wake up next morning and I listen to it and I compare it to a professional kick, and I just get so sad because I can't understand how I could be so wrong the night before about how it sounded. So I haven't really cracked how to get over those kind of things. I suppose it's just a process when you make kicks, I don't know. And but for this kick you can also have some kind of reverb. So that's more or less how I make my kicks.